Yes, family. Oh, blessed love. Definitely we give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, our prophet, priest, and king, and glorify the mother of creation in all good doings and saying. Of course, it is a joy. I welcome each and everyone to the Tiger's Nest once again. Of course, this is the spiritual pasture of righteousness. As I always say, they have many, many lions dens, but there's only one Tiger's Nest. Of course, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. What a joy. And just blessing the whole radio and family as well. Definitely getting the first bit of this wonderful interview that we'll be doing this evening. And for those of you who will be viewing this on YouTube, you already see what time it is. We have the Honorable Priest Lamont with us, specifically representing the Ethiopia Africa Black International Church of True Divine Salvation. Also farmer extraordinaire as well for decades, really. And for sure, definitely, you know, one of the mighty priests upon the foundation, even up until this time. So, you know, as we are coming through the Lenten moment, and we are getting very close to the resurrection period, and even this is the last week, what they call the Holy Week, which even I and I as Boba Shanti, this is like the strong way we are very, very vigilant. And for sure, so the timing for myself to sit down with the Honorable Priest Lamont is perfect timing. And as I said to the eye before we came on, my Lord, we are also commemorating, if you want to say commemorating, if that's the right term, but remembering, I should say, the Coral Gardens massacre, as today is the 11th of April. So many things on the board for us to discuss about Rastafari, the Congress, the EABIC, and our future moving on. But again, it's just a joy that the eye could come and sit and sup with us. I mean, I myself have a few, you know, vibes I would want to share with the eye, but as we enter into the program, you know, I will get to all of that. But for now, blessed love, my Lord. Welcome to the Tigers.
Give thanks for having me, my Majesty. Yes, my Lord.
Give thanks. Well, my Lord, you know how it is, you know. Well, even before we get into, you know, the Lent and all of that, as a priest of the Congress, well, let me begin by saying this, I met the eye in 2001, but even before I met the eye, you know, there was this cassette. I never forget that cassette, a little blue cassette I had. I remember getting it from Prophet Shakwan. That was in the 90s, like 1996 or somewhere abouts. Yes. And it was an interview with Muta Baruka. And the the interview was in 1994. It was a Christmas interview. And, remember 1994 is when the father made the move, you know. I never forget that interview. I used to listen to that every night. And it was Priest Courtney, Priest Virgo, Prophet Lamont, I think you had Priest Ellis, and a few other priests coming down the line and one or two other prophets. So even before I met the eye, the name at the time you were Prophet. The name Prophet Lamont, even sometimes I call in the name, I'm still saying Prophet and I have to shake it off, you know, because even before meeting the eye, that is the custom that I had. So in a sense, you know, there was this you know, this gumminess that already came in even before I met the eye, and even others now, because when I met Priest Virgo, you know, to me it was like superheroes are meeting, you know. I said, wow, look the priest here, brother, with the stammer and everything, you know. So so just to let you know, that is from a long time I and I looking up,
Give thanks for the preamble introduction, my Lord. You know, thanks, Majesty. Yes, as you said earlier on, you know, you want to hear about by tradition, you know, even coming to the foundation and maybe a little before. All right, I started to try Rastafari about 1989, 87, coming about there, 88, 89, I think. And I tried for as a Rastafari, not really affiliated to any real mansion, you know, but very conscious of the functioning of all the mansions too. I was quite aware of what was happening in 12 Tribe, in Bingi, you know, some Dread, you know, the Orthodox, and you know, I used to reason a lot, yes. So after a while, I keep researching. as I keep researching now. And you know, I came to the fullness of, you know, the Black Christ, because I was quite aware of the Trinity. I came up as an ardent Christian in those days. As a youngster, I started going to church from I was 7, and became confirmed in the Catholic Church from I was about 9 years old.
Wow.
And came up there. So I was aware of the Godhead and you know, the triumvirate God. And continuing in the church for many years, I did not really find what I was searching for. And so I stopped going to church for a couple of years. Somewhere in the late 90s, late 80s, 1988, 89, I came face to face with Rastafari through personal meditation. And from there, I started to try Rastafari. I have elder brothers that have been in the Rastafari tradition for years. Nonetheless, they did not manage to influence me. You know, yes, I being a Christian, we had many confrontations, you know, and debates. So learning of, you know, King Emmanuel in a way that I was giving him more thought than I used to give him, you know, rather than just the ordinary Rasta man, and as you know, you people brush those things. So when I learned of him, I inquired and I researched, and I realized that he, you know, there were some authentic things about him, and I continued to learn more. And so I started to hold my fast and my Sabbath, you know. So through what you would call spiritual, you know, revelation, he revealed himself to me. One day I was, you know, in my house, just observing my Sabbath and just praying. Not in the way that the Bible tried to do it.
Right. I
but
get
just
you.
holding my own, you know, solemn meditation.
I know them with them, man.
Yeah, really keeping meditation and King Emmanuel too, because I was learning about him then. And that I am, you know, just trying to feel the spiritual, you know, ocean current. And it really happened, you know, in a way that I was certain that there was some divine, you know, influence around this man. And so I told some brethren, and, you know, some young youths used to follow around me, and I told them, you know, of my experience, our experience, and started, you know, to ride from Portmore. I used to live in Portmore those days, and for a couple of Sabbats, they rode up to the camp, you know, and they came back and said, yes, they used to call me Teach. Say, yes, Teach. Yeah, man, it's real and so forth, you know.
And them time you don't go yet? No,
I don't go yet.
Right.
I don't go yet. I started to go about 3 or 4 weeks after I said that. And when I reached, you know, it's like the hymn that was being sung in the tabernacle was my son, welcome. We were wondering, I think that was the hymn. And you know, everyone was saying, man, is your hymn this, you know? You come home, man. But besides that, it was something really special. It was a divine moment. It was because here I am at a place that I had never seen before in reality, in the way it is, because I went to Bubble Hill like about 20 years before coming now this time. I went there when I was very young, about 13, 14. Yes, and I had
that's with school or something.
That was we were in school, but it was not a school visit.
Okay.
It was youth from the community. Youth from the community, you know, we used to use, you know, our little peer group.
Yes, man.
You know, it was a celebration, and you know, they heard that, you know, a lot of King Emmanuel used to give a lot of things in those days.
So that time you're about 13 or so. Okay.
Yes, 14. And so you can't get it back yet, you know.
Now rushing it, but you would have seen King Emmanuel them time already?
Well, that's the first time I was seeing him. I used to hear about it.
Okay.
But when I went, in those days, it was easier to see him than in the last, the fight when I went after, you know, starting to try Rastafari. Because those days, the setup there was not as it is now. And he was, the palace was in a different location. So when we went, there were other people there listening to a lecture that he was giving. And so they brought us where he was, and we were there listening, you know, to him talking, culturing about, you know, the black sovereignty, you know, and the importance of understanding, you know, the black integrity. And he was talking about, you know, the evils of colonialism. Of course, these were kind of new things to us, you know. I don't think it struck the kind of interest and importance that it should have. You know, us not being exposed to those things much in those times. But, you know, it was really things that we never heard, you know, talking about Africa and the motherland and, you know, all those stuff.
So that have to be in the early 70s then?
Yes, that was about 1973.
When the king just reached up on the hill. Yes,
that's about 1973, because yes, I remember. It's about 1973.
And even born yet, Ras. As you're saying, I'm not born yet. But so like as a youth then, as the father, King Emmanuel speaking, like I could have comprehended him, understand him.
There was something about he and I, Priest Isaacs. I understood him very easily. I think some people wondered about that. Because for that reason, we used to talk, he used to enjoy talking with me because I would ask him questions and I understand him easily and we were able to converse in a free flow way, you know?
Wow.
You know, and when I remember the first time I went, he sent for me. The first time I saw it. I don't know what had been said about me, but when I went, he said, "Oh my Lord, I heard that the man was a teacher out there in Babylon." You know, and I said, "Oh yes, Majesty." And he said, "So can you arrange a school with, you know, administrators and stanzas?" And I said, "Oh yes, Majesty, we are trained for those things, you know." And so he said, "That's the kind of school I want. I would like a school with stanzas and so forth." And we had a talk, and then he sent me to teach in the school. That was quite surprising to a lot of brethren because, you know, being a young prophet, and in those days they say only priests could teach, you know. And so he sent me straight away to the conference center where the school was being housed those days. And you know, those days were Priest Courtney and Priest Ayman and Priest Campbell, and you know, those some of those foundation priests that, you know, were there, you know. And I started to teach in the school for a while, but a few little issues, and then after about a month or two, I stopped.
Before you go any further, please, if you could just hold up, because you know you touch a card there that just to use that phrase again, you know, with from you mentioned school and you know what I mean, the father sent you to handle the education. So just for the audience clarity, so this is obviously the time when you return back a decade or plus after
after decades after because remember when I went, I was a youth, you know.
I get you.
Just out of curiosity.
Right.
This time I came to be a part of the foundation. I was there before. I was there for about 3 or 4 months before he sent that call.
Wow, that's powerful. And
yeah, man, because I remember that by that time I put on my turban and I spent quite a few months in the camp before I put on my
turban. Yes, positive. So with the school structure though, because you know, one of the things I really want to get into even today is like, you know, reconstruction of our Congress. We all know, I mean, it's not no big secret right about now. Some people don't like when they discuss these things because for years people have been telling me, oh, they may not think to go on the internet and talk about. I mean, but I don't know what is being hidden. But what I wanted to ask, as far as the school structure, because in reconstructing anything and building a nation, the education aspect is key. You already kind of give me an idea of what King Emmanuel desired. And so since you mentioned that, I would like to go a little more, if possible, into King Emmanuel's mind frame. Because I know what you just said, he would have had to give you a little more detail of exactly what he desired to see in a school.
Well, he wanted to see a school that could elevate his people and something that could resonate out, to the wider world of Black people. But he wanted something very, very foundational, cultural, that was identifiable with Black children and Black people, something Africa-oriented that could help people to see themselves, rather than just this ordinary curriculum of Babylon that basically was not really helping people towards self-realization in terms of what we call cultural identity, but the more, what we call labor preparation.
Workforce.
So I think King Emmanuel wanted something that was hands-on for one, that they were learning real life skills and having real life experiences, and also having things that were Afrocentric, in a curriculum arranged to meet real Black needs and desire. So,
So what came about the school then? I mean, as I said, there ain't nothing wrong to speak about it. Because remember the father himself tell us, greater work than this shall we do. So we're gonna rise it and we're gonna do it better. But just for the history aspect of it.
Well, I started in the school that they had there. Of course, I think I was met with a little bit of petty, some little, petty, what you call, jealousies.
Okay.
But and of course there were many questions about how could this little prophet just come, and him is a teacher and is on the priest can teach. And some brethren were that, well, after King Emmanuel must know what he's doing. So if King Emmanuel sent him to teach, just anoint him as a priest. And some brethren were like, not so forthcoming with that. And maybe I could have been a little more tolerant.
I could imagine.
With the differences. But after a while, I stopped because of the little indifferences and the tug of war. But the school itself did not continue very long after. They disseminated for different reasons. Some of it because there were not any real consistent teacher after a while. Some of the brethren might have left, and so the school, lost momentum. Some of this by that time I went back to teach in the government schools because I am a trained teacher in that system. So I had left the teaching in the government school and been in the camp for a couple of years. And then the people in the community, know that they say that I am a high performance teacher. I having taught in most of the schools in the area, Harborview, 7 Miles, I have been at Donald Quarry, St. Benedict's, and here where I live at in Bulby, they think that I can't be in the area and I'm not giving service. And the people knew I was very excellent in teaching.
Yes.
And so one of the teachers saw me one day. Most of the times when I go to teach, it's people who know of jobs at schools and come to tell me that I have to go and teach. So a teacher told me that I have to go and teach and I need to do something in the community. So I went and took it and I stayed in it for 10 years, during which time I took quite a few of the Baba Shanti children to that school because our school was not functioning. And so I asked King Emmanuel, first of all, my son, for one, when I brought him there, he was more advanced than the school. And so I asked King Emmanuel, you know, so as not to frustrate him, if I could take him back to the schools out there. And he gave me the permission.
Of course, not everything.
And so, yes. And so when I started to teach again in the Babylon schools, I asked permission for those parents who wanted their children to go. And most of them, you know, agreed. And I took them, registered them in the school and helped them to develop their literary and numeracy skills.
That's good, man. I mean, that little bit of history there, as simple as it sounds, because again, even in the rebuilding process, again, education is key. Education, health, you know, them different administration, and it's obvious we have.
Well, precise that you could be very instrumental in helping us, because there is a place now that we have identified, and there is a little framework that is started, and a foundation that is there, that they have advised me that the Congress said, you know, it can be used and to house the school. It's not much that is done, but as a place is there, identified. So what we need now is to amass funds to erect a school, you know. So that's really something that we are discussing and talking about. Maybe a GoFundMe, so you know that ones and ones could make their contributions towards constructing a school. You know,
this place is close to the hill.
It's right next to the tabernacle.
Okay, wow. Well, that's right, where it's supposed to be. Yes.
Something that I think it's a structure that was started some time ago by Empress Rachel. And,
I think I've heard about that. I think I heard about that whole project already.
I told Priest Justice that I am interested in using it to develop a building for the school, and there was no objection. So I imagine that it is a place that I can use to start, you know, some amount of classrooms where we could educate the smaller children, the younger ones in the day, and you know, for the adults we could do something in the afternoon down into the night. It's something we have on focus, and really need the input of all Baba Shanti, you know, astutes and aspirants.
Rastafari. Yes, my lord, that alone is a big topic by itself. And the discussion, definitely. Big topic by itself. Well, I see we already gone into the reconstruction part of it and our Congress, but let me just make a quick dovetail and come forward to that again, you know. I want to return just quickly back to when I came to the camp first. And not the first initial, but first as a Baba Shanti, when you came to the Congress after a couple of years, or several years, I should say, a decade plus. When you had an opportunity to have an audience with King Emmanuel again, what was the feeling? And I'm asking you in this way purposely because you met him before and you spoke to him, or well, maybe not spoke to him, but you saw him in action then, to the point where you said you could understand what he was saying. So 20 years after, you come again, and the old man still there sitting up. And for whatever reason that you got to approach him, because as you said, in that second time, no, it's not the same thing, you know. It's not, I don't think he was just walking up and down the place. If you wanted to see, right, like I said, no, man. If you wanted to see him, well, you have to make a way to see him. Let's put it that way.
Of course.
So when you saw him that second time and had the next audience with him, what was the vibes? And how easy was it for you to see him? That's my own personal little.
It wasn't easy because I was in the camp for many months before I managed to see him. And like I say, I saw him only because for whatever reason he heard about this young brother that was a teacher.
That was the time you got to go. Yes.
And then he said to ask me about the school, which was very, very lucky for me because somehow it seemed to me that I was not a kiss up to Bobo. I was not a Bobo that I'm a very social and I'm a people person, but I am not a, you know, I am not a yes man person, and things I do things by merit, and I do things on my own analysis and evaluation. You know, I analyze situations first of all on my own intelligence and what I know, and so most of the times I was very well watched and observed, because of course, you know, I was quickly understood to be someone that's not stupid and know what I am about.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, some of the times if I was more compliant, I might have had seen him earlier. So
I could imagine.
It was in some way a little technical thing against me, you know, not to let me see him, because you know, I don't think I was a friendly Bobo. I was I'm well mannered and I'm well disciplined, and in the most adverse case I am well mannered, and I try to speak with the tongue that King Emmanuel has taught me to speak, or the way I think he has the Christ would speak. Because some of the times I just try to imagine what he would do or he would like, you know, he not being a person that you see every day and hear every day, and you know, but you have to, I form my own picture impression of him as the Christ and that perfect individual. So at all times I was thinking that in everything that has to do with him, it would be something perfect and right. So that is how I used to think, and I try to operate with that kind of mindset and framework. So when I see things happening, I don't care who was doing it. You know, I used to analyze things myself. I didn't just say, is Priest Mickey doing this, or you know, if Priest Jackie doing it, so it's right, or if Priest Giffy, so it must be right. Things have to be right by analysis and evaluation for me.
As a teacher?
As a teacher.
Yeah,
and so I saw him when maybe my desire to see him. I used to tell him, well, I know he's there. There were people there who used to make it look like they're not so sure. They come there and they are there, and sometimes they might say, they have a true. You know what I mean? And you get that so often. You know, many people when I was there and when I was seated there, and they are there, and people are there for a long time and don't see him. And maybe they're people probably there longer than me. Because I think there were some people there that never saw him.
Yeah, man.
Even to this very day, and they were there while he was there.
I could imagine that. Wow. That a real tiger spirit, a secluded cat. Powerful. So do I have, I think I said this already privately now, but still. You ever lick a chalice with the king?
I never managed to lick a chalice. I never managed to go in one of his chalice sessions.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, but I have managed to have chalice session with some of the more elder priests too. You know, that's where we start to learn to chant, you know, because you have to chant before you touch a chalice.
That's where you learn to chant.
Yes, that's, you know, as young Bobo Shanti, you have to learn, you know, to say psalms and, you know, hymns and choruses and to chant chants, so that when you go to psalms reading and when you're in and your time come to chant, you can, you know, say something, you know. So you learn, you get, it's like a schoolroom where you're really learning to come out of your shell and just learn to chant, because here you are in the midst of the priests, and you know, you're allowed to burn the chalice with them, you know. So, and of course, you certainly can't burn the chalice if you don't pray. So you must have to block a chant to burn the chalice. So by the time you get the chalice 5 or 6 times, you would have, and you listen to the priest them, yes, and you realize that, oh, it's a psalm he's chanting, or a part of a hymn, or a part of a chorus, or something out of himself, you know, just praises and, you know, glorification unto the Most High, because that's what this basically is, you know. So you learn to know that. But
Give thanks, give thanks. So, as I said earlier, we're on the Lent now, my lord.
Yes.
I have a couple questions about the Lent now, but let me begin with the actual Lent. Historically, you could give us an idea of what it was like. And of course, you've been there for a while, so I guess over times maybe things would have a different look. But what was it like, you know, keeping the 40-day and 40 nights fast at Bobo Hill during the time of the Black Christ?
During the time of the Black Christ, no, we try to do it the same way, but it's not happening the same way.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah.
But, in those times, and I have been quite familiar with fasting and Lent from in the days of being a Catholic.
Yeah.
They are well up into this Lent thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
sure.
Of course, coming to the Baba Shanti and seeing it in a real way, in a more what you call factual way, where you know it took on a different what you call you know, I don't want to say embodiment, but it took on a different structure in the Baba Shanti thing. Because here you are beginning now to see yourself not just doing a fast, but you're seeing yourself even as the man himself. You know, because you are learning now that you are the God in flesh as well, you know. Righteous man is God in flesh. So it's giving you an idea that this is something that you are able to do. Not something only that the Christ did or that he did it only because he was so spiritually different, or he was like an invisible, intangible being. But that he did it and he was feeling human suffering and human pain and human desire. And so it brought meaning to the fasting and the whole Lent thing, rather than just about a man that go on a cross and crucify him and go there Friday night and him rise by Sunday, always 3 days and 3 nights. And you know, this fantasy that you were having, you know, having to accept, you know, as a Christian, it begin to take some real effect now, to know that yes, this was the man, you know, in himself, physically, you know, because he was doing this for the good of the people that he loved. He was really making a sacrifice. And so we now begin to use it, you know, as a sacrifice too, for an end, for a purpose. There are some slight difference in the school of thought of fasting, even among Baba Shanti.
I kind of wanted to get to that too.
And there are slight variations in the way we fast, because there are some priests that will still fast from 6 to 6, and there are some brethren that do the 22 hours or something like that, or 18 hours, from 2 o'clock until midday the next day. But in our things, it's something that Baba Shanti take very, very dear and very, you know, personal. Nonetheless, there are those brethren who still don't adhere 100% to the fasting order. And I have even learned that even me at one time, I used to do 21 days out of the 40. Just due to my own itinerary and my own agenda being out there. There were those days when I still, as a Baba Shanti, I have to go to where I have to teach at the schools, you know. So some of the times I would do a 21-day fast. You see what I'm saying? Because that's something to me, and King Emmanuel did not make it a stiff-necked thing. Like, oh, if you don't fast, you're going to have to take off your turban. Or if you don't fast, you're going to have to. It was something that was seen as required by everyone, none the least.
Yeah, you're on mute there. You just went on mute. You're on mute. But while you're on mute there, I think the way I learned you're on mute, just press the microphone button.
Sure.
Right. Because while I learned it, they said that the father said, if you can't take a big bite, take a small bite.
Yes. Yes. So there were those situations. Like I said, the father did things by merit.
You're going to unmute again, eh? You mute again. You're going to unmute again. I don't know how that, because I even know they used to say you have a baby fast. Yeah, let's press it. The baby fast is the regular fast that carry up until 12 o'clock. And then you just hold it again until, that's it. You fast and you're done fast at 12. Your camera off now, eh? Your camera off and the microphone is off. So just check upon that there. But while you're getting that in, I was just highlighting that, yeah, there's the baby fast, I've heard, which is basically the regular fast. You just fast until midday. And then that's it, you're done until you wake up the next morning and it's fast until midday. No restriction. When you break your fast, that's it, you're done. You don't have to come back and fast at 2. You don't have to come back and fast when the sun set. Baby fast. So I come. Yeah, sorry.
I came in and it cut you out for a while. So I missed out some of what you were saying.
Okay. Well, no, I was just highlighting, well, you were really highlighting that the fast is something required, but it was never a strain. You do what you can do.
It's not a strain.
Right.
Because again, like the father used to say, you know, we fast for a purpose. And most of the time the purpose is repatriation. To bring up the repatriation.
Inside.
Which is the same thing we are on during this fasting period. However, I keep saying to the brethren, some of the times we can maybe add something else to it, or we can look at something else too. Maybe like fasting for more peace and harmony among ourselves. Fasting for, you know, a solution, you know, to some of our, you know, situations, is, you know. But fasting is also what I learned from the father. It is also for personal development and personal spiritual advancement, and personal cleansing of the inner man, you know, because that for me takes a great precedence in fasting. When fasting for me, most of the time, is to really hone, it's a honing of my spiritual inner man, my soul. It's really to help me to manifest some things that are not easily manifested without deep fasting, meditation, and concentration. And so sometimes fasting for me is really breaking certain personal barriers, or bringing to pass certain, you know, personal, spiritual, you know, aim and trajectory. So that is all my fasting, my experience of what the father would be trying to teach, you know, this fasting.
I think a good fast for unity, I said it to the brethren here too. I mean, the fasting period, I mean, that's a long time to carry a physical through this different things. So man should be thinking big. Yeah, repatriation and that's thinking big, you know.
Yes.
But to me, the repatriation is the goal. But then what's the target that we have to hit to get to that goal? Because remember, I see the video that Pre-Shimran put up when they had them by the airport waiting for William and the woman there, man, and they just pass you straight. I didn't think they blow their heart. So what I'm saying now, if we go wait and then people there forever, you understand? So what I'm saying, why not fast for economic growth? I know plenty of people don't like hear that. Somehow, I don't know, some like me crazy. Like, oh, no, money, can't talk about money. Like if money is a sin to talk about money. So how you expect to move from here to there? Is Elizabeth you waiting on? Come on, man. So what I'm saying still, because remember, you know, Jah didn't say we have to wait on them people. You know. What I read is that whether by man hand earthquake, thunder, and lightning. I'm not even waiting on the earthquake to thunder and lightning. For me, say, man hand. I'm a man and I have some hand. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's get to it. So,
priest, when you hear the term earthquake, lightning, and thunder, of course, ones know that these are operations of the Father himself.
Right.
But I want to know how they visualize man hand. Because like when I hear about by man hand, it tells me clearly that us as individuals have something to do with it.
I think it's
quite interestingly too. About the second to last or the third to last time I spoke to the Father, you know, and this was like a couple months before he tried out of the flesh. And he said to me, you know, my Lord, and I heard that he told this to other people too, but I'm talking about for me. And he said, you know, my Lord, if man and man can find way to go into the motherland, my Lord, man and man must go, you know, my Lord, because you know, my Lord, man and man don't have to wait on anything, you know, my Lord. And he said to me, after he said a few things, he said, my Lord, I don't need any ship to go to Africa. Africa is right around the corner for me. Africa is right around, Ethiopia right around the corner from me, my Lord. That's what he said to me. I didn't understand. Priest Isaac, he mumbled something to me about this part I never hear clearly.
I know it is.
But I didn't ask him.
Query.
But he said something about one room or only one room away or something like that. You know, while he was talking about, you know, don't need any ship to go to Africa around the corner, you know, and something about one room away or something that he said, which I didn't understand it, so I just left it alone. But I know the Father did say that ones can go if you find the wherewithal to go. And of course, that is a part of man's hand. But to me, I think, when you say by man's hand, I don't know if one is seeing it in a way that it has to be some governmental operation, or it can be individual, whereas someone can find themselves with the ability to go and the wherewithal.
By themselves.
By themselves. So it's how we understand the narrative, you know?
Right, I get what you say with the by yourself. But the by yourself is not the Exodus.
No, people think that it's migration. It is not a migration scheme we want. It's a repatriation. And so for me, I believe, even if I were to go precise, that it would be just to set a foundation there. But I would always want to be in a place where I can help to do something towards
like our family, our oneness.
Yes, I would want us to help to effect the repatriation in the way that the Father has thought about it. So even if ones go, it should be just to begin to do what we can. There are different schools of thoughts, because some people will tell you that repatriation, when you reach Africa, everything is going to be prepared for us. They say the Father say, we don't need to when we go there, we don't have to build no house or what, everything is going to be there. I did not hear that for myself, and I'm not doubting it. But it's some of the things, when I look through reality eyes, you know, I don't want to value everything through a spiritual spectacle. I want to value some things through realistic spectacle.
Realistic, yeah, rational.
So, rational. And rationally speaking, I would want to think that when we get there, we are going to need to create proper infrastructure. We are going home in a mass number. We are going to, even from here, needing to have a proper structure. I remember precisely taking out a school of children from the school to any point out there. We have to have proper record. How many children are on the bus? How many are of such an age? How many are below the grade 3 stanza? How many are so and so? And how many we are going to leave at a point when we are coming back because of where they live? And we can't afford to take them back to the school compound. They can't get home. All these logistics have to be worked out.
Very good.
How many children you have to carry newspaper for to stop the members and let them don't vomit? These are things that I think we are going to have to work out when we talk about the repatriation scheme. When we get there, what we are going to do, how we are going to arrange ourselves, and all these things, all the conditions, you see the sorting out when we get there, because it's not that we reach there and it's just milk and honey, and then we change from the mortal to the immortal. Yeah. So there's no more sorrow, no more pain, and just milk and honey, and we are in an immortal, some kind of celestial structure. So it requires all those kind of thinking. You know?
I like that. I mean, I know a lot of ones strong into the celestial structure thing. That discussion is there, you know. It's a good discussion too.
I am not denying the ether, the 9 ether structure.
Right.
That we surely are aiming towards.
But where we are now,
where we are now, and what I'm seeing, because repatriation, we talk about freedom, redemption, and international repatriation. I am hoping that ones will understand that those are 3 different entities.
True, freedom, yeah.
Freedom, redemption, and international repatriation. Because freedom repatriation would entail reparation when we are repatriated, so that we can be amended and be healed by a financial backing.
Of course.
So freedom again now would mean the right to repatriate, and that someone would be working on such an agenda in some real way, relevant and constant to the situation that caused us to be in this situation. So that for me is freedom, working for freedom, for people to be mindful of the fact that we are not free and we need to be free. And when we are truly free, we are repatriated. And then now, redemption. Something that I don't think I hear enough explanation of.
I'm glad you said that.
Because the redemption would seem to me to be that kind of raptorial experience that people are talking about. To be redeemed. And to be redeemed is to be redeemed from every sin and every wrong and everything that is not perfect. And so it would mean then that we are going forward to our 9 ethereal state, where that would be some kind of celestial state.
I want to jump in there just quickly with the redeem part. But what do you think about, can you bring it again back to the end result? Freedom, redemption, international repatriation. But anytime you read about redeem, for example, in the Bible, when you redeem someone or something, is buy it back, eh?
Yes.
Money is always involved in redeeming something. As far as what the word means. Maybe a different definition.
The redemption of the righteous was bought with the blood of the Master, of the Savior.
There you go.
So we have been bought. He has bought us already, and so that's why we want to be processed.
So we don't redeem them.
The price is paid.
Oh, the price is paid. Okay, but we now take up the
price is paid, but the process is being denied.
I hear you. Yes, right. Good one there. Yeah. Okay.
The man has paid 5 bleeding wounds, and several scratches, and so so the price is paid precisely, but there are the powers that are the nasty still being nasty.
I get that. Well, since we and I gonna keep it forever too, since we gone into the paying the price and the 5 bleeding wounds, and as I said, this is a quick jump here. We're into the Lenten period. We're into the last week, and we come into the resurrection. Since you mentioned the price that have been paid, I wanted to get from the eye on a historical, a theological, and a philosophical level. I know you explained earlier about the fast within, we are the Christ within ourselves now, which definitely that is exactly what it is. But there's a storyline though that goes with our Lenten period that is unique to Bobo Shanti. being that, of course, you know the story, Christ hung the Tuesday, crucified the Wednesday, resurrect the Friday, Mother White Bridge, Mother White Bridge? Mother White Bridge. Some people say Christ was crucified 2,000 years ago in Egypt, Jamaica. And I'll put a lot on the table there just so. Put all that together for me from your understanding, the reality of all of this.
Egypt, Jamaica, precisely, first of all, is Egypt. Remember, I am the Lord thy God, which has brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Yes, sir.
Egypt there becomes a synonym to bondage.
Yes, sir.
Or the house of bondage is synonymous to Egypt. So here we are in bondage because we have been taken out of our homeland and brought here. And although they have claimed that we have been emancipated, we know that that's a wicked and heinous trick and a lie. And so we are still in bondage because we are here in a place that we do not desire to be, and we were brought here by force. So I would have to say this referral to Egypt here is just a kind of what we call analogy, a kind of synonym then, just to say that we being in bondage here, and then there is a story of people being in bondage in Egypt. I am not taking it to be so literal to say that this Jamaica is where the pyramids were built in those places, in that location, that geographical location. I think it more refers to an incidental situation. You see what I'm saying? And so even with Mother White Bridge, where, you know,
you've ever been there?
We talk about Golgotha. Yeah, I pass by there regularly. I go by there regularly. It's a place that you have to pass by. But I was speaking with Honorable Priest Fligo just Sabbath past, just to have his clarification or his understanding or his, you know, overview of it.
Yeah.
And
we still learning it.
What he said to me is that, you know, some of these things we would have to see that they are what he said, as he said again, symbolic.
Wow. I started to cut you, but trust me, man, that ranking priest, real man that you yourself would respect and say, yeah, man, the man will tell me clearly that they can carry me and show me the tree that they hang the Father on. I just don't want to call her name because that does seem to end up in some little back and forth sometimes. So
yes, let me tell you something.
I just putting it on the table.
I was never one person, and I'm not trying to discredit anything that has been said about the Father. But I never tried to use fables and what we call
allegory.
Allegory to try to prove the truth and the reality of King Emmanuel. I don't have to use these kind of things. And if that one is true, my knowledge of it, my understanding of it is not that clear. So I would still need to study to show myself more approved. And
we didn't know everything, you know.
You understand me. But where I can, from where I sit or where I stand right now, I speak from this position, that I think it's kind of symbolic based on what happened there. What I learned from the Honorable Priest was that right there at Mother White Bridge, there is a monument that seemed to be a slaughter chamber, not specifically of Rastafari, but of our black brothers in time past. It seemed that that place was some kind of slaughter chamber. Something is there. He said there is a monument that would imply or allude to that, and that may be one of the reasons he could give you a better clarification if you ever manage to speak with him. But I listened to what he said, and from some other thing that I heard too, it sounds to me like that. A symbolic reference by the Father to Mother White Bridge to say that once a black man was crucified there, I was crucified there. Okay. You were crucified there. It's not that I per se, Priest Lamont, was crucified there. You see what I'm saying? So I think the Father might have referred to something there that might have been, you know, not so clearly taken, you know, from what he said. But that's my understanding. I heard that he was badly beaten at Mother White Bridge and was passed off for dead, or was thrown in jail, and afterward was taken to the hospital and so forth. So you know, it could be said that, well, if he was badly beaten there to that point, man could say, well, boy, I'm dead and come alive. But that incident could be taken as a crucifixion. That you know, because I heard he was badly beaten, and they almost ran that long time, you know, button that they used to have in his side and stuff like that.
Broke up in 3 pieces.
That's as far as I can speak precisely.
Well, the reason why I could come with that, because of course, ancient priest Bob, you know, I would have spent some nice time with Bob in that roundhouse there, priest Bob.
Yes.
And
yes.
And in his little garden when he chant and plant. So you know, priest Bob, how it is. But priest Bob say, and he said it very serious when he said the crucifixion was in the 60s. And not putting you on the spot, you know, but since we are at this moment, like today is the 11th, at least the recording of this, the 11th of April. And you know, the 11th of April, 12th of April, 1963 is Holy Thursday, Good Friday, during the time of the Coral Gardens Massacre. Now, what is interesting, you know, I've never heard any account of King Emmanuel as it relates to the Coral Gardens Massacre, like, you know, where was he during that time? I remember them time they killing Rasta, you know, shoot them dead or alive and the whole works. But I've never heard no specific story about him. I mean, we know about Bakawal 1958 and how they say they beat him to a pulp. Was his name Martin Plano? Say that they beat the king to a pulp. Like, you know, a pulp be like liquid on the floor. That's how he referred to it as. But in the 63 event, well, I mean, he was around. And Rastas were on, you know, I mean, Rastas were the main target. So I've never gotten any story about him during that time, but I'm just saying that I'm just finding it interesting that time when Rasta itself, just like you said, you know, because Rasta in general represent the Christ man too, you know. And during that time, Rasta went through the worst persecution I think they ever went through anywhere. And that was during the time of Good Friday. You know, so in my own little mentality, I was saying, well, maybe the two have something to do with one another. I could be right or I could be corrected, you know. But as you could see, you know, the Father leaves us with a lot of mystics, you know, not to be ashamed of. He leaves us with some mysteries for us to unravel. Ain't nothing to be ashamed of. And maybe this is just one of them, because we've been unpacking it for a while. But since I mentioned Coral Gardens, my Lord, and we're gonna look to seal up. Maybe this one more question after this we could look to wrap it up. But let me ask. Go ahead.
Coral Gardens. At the time, you know, Coral Gardens. A lot of the incidents took place in the western section of the island.
That's where.
Montego Bay and those surrounding areas. Some places, Rastas in some area were very cautious, of course, and had to stay, but they were not directly touched. So quite possibly King Emmanuel might have been in one of those locations.
Yes.
Nonetheless, I have spoken with another priest, Isaiah, who himself was badly beaten and imprisoned too in the Coral Garden incident. As a matter of fact, he left with me he wrote his account of the Coral Gardens incident. And left it with me when he was going to Africa.
Ethiopia,
Yes, when he was going to Africa. So his account, and he told how he was badly beaten, and he sat in the prison, the jail cell, and he was passing, when he passed his urine, he was passing blood, and one of his ribs was broken, and you know, they had him there, and he said in those days, they couldn't even say no. There was no word with I that would come out of their mouth. If you want to say ice mint, you would have to say, sell me a measle mint. If you say I and the police hear you, you're beaten so badly, you know. So, but I never heard anything about the king himself being in the in any of
the circumstances. Yeah. Well, that's tough to say. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That shows a lot of the power of the I. But since the I would have known a lot of elders, I don't mean Bobo Shanti now, Rastafari in general, because I know even before you came to the hill, you would have had some time to, I can't call who you may know by name, but I would say in closing, from your perspective, and your teaching and your learning, what was the outlook of Bongo Eddie from most of those elders that you've been around?
Well, managing to speak with people like Ayakolo and Bongo Fosdi, who passed on many years. They were Rastafari brethren who came from Bakawa but never stayed on the hill. But they were around the Bob Marley Beach area, where people like Bongo Gabby and those brethren were, and all these brethren are brethren that track from those time of Bongo Eddie.
Yes. So one quickly. So you were on the hill when they came up? You were on the hill when they came?
I have been there about 2 times when they came. I was there the last time when Bono G's and the brethren came. That was about sometime early 1994. That was the last time they came, and tried to get King Emmanuel to go to a conference in Miami, but he never went. That's where while they were there, he tried. But what I learned from them was that he, from an early age, maybe even as 19, was telling them that he is the Christ, and they would not believe. I think Bongo Fozzy said, even Ayakolo they would think that they were so spiritual too that they themselves could be the Christ.
Of course.
But I didn't hear that they declared themselves as Christ. But I heard that King Emmanuel told them that he was the Christ. What Bono G himself said, that is that when he said, and Prince always tell me that he would say, "Am I the Christ?" I would tell him, "So no go so."
Yes,
So it means that there was this,
of course,
what maybe I say a jealousy, or probably a subtle competition for the position of the Christhood, because they were all man of high spiritual understanding and wisdom, because these were the patriarchs, the ancients of the Rastafari revelation in those times. And so they must have been man of high spiritual, seeking and learning, understanding. And for them, for at that time, in those days, to begin to think that when people would think it blasphemous to say that man is God. And they, from those early times, were saying that this man is Christ, or that man could be Christ. So they realized and recognized early priest Isaacs, long before these ordinary people, and long before people in their time that were so-called learned people.
I hear you.
These Rastafari brethren found out through what revelation that the Christ is in the flesh. And the scripture says so, that the Christ is in the flesh. And they were able to identify these truths from those early times.
Rastafari. Yes, my Lord. Give thanks. Yes. I will just leave that for any sealing words. No, you know what I want you to seal with? That might be a long sealing to know, but the future of Bobo Shanti, my Lord. Congress moving on. In sealing.
The Congress moving on is one of our anthem songs. And of course, we have been battered with internal situations. But I have to say precise that the Bobo Shanti Foundation is one of the very few foundations moving on still with a unity, with an organization, with a structure, that we can still quickly put together a team of brethren to officiate anywhere, in any circumstance. And so I think we are still you know, well-founded. And like every organization, there are, because where people are, there are going to be differences of opinion. I don't think we have an unsolvable situation in the least. And I think at this time, we are in dialogue with one another. The Baba Shanti family is really dialoguing. Not that we have straightened out every ruffled path, but we are talking about them. We identify them, we're aware of them, and we all want to fix them. There's no arm, no section, no sector of the Baba Shanti family that is not desirous of having oneness, peace, unity. And we realize that we have a charter and a mandate that is not just for the EABIC, but it's for the world of Black people, you know, because salvation is for everyone. First of all, for us as Ethiopian, and then for those nations who honestly and have given up their conceited and evilous ways and come unto their Father, because he's the creator of all. So that is where we are. We are seriously trying, Priest Isaac, not going as you know, well as we would want it, because as we say, we are hampered by lack of individuals and the foundation to manifest functions. So whilst it's well and good to say that we are organizing, we want to organize, people are there with the good intention of organizing, but some of the times the reality of the situation is that they themselves are affected by their own personal day-to-day existence and things that are to be done, and the fact that we need people. We need people.
Priest Headley always cry that cry, boy. I think that's the main cry you have right now. More people. Maybe we should have fasted that one day. Yes,
you never know, maybe, but for me, these are some of the reality things that we have to look at and fast for them, because maybe those are some of the you see, repatriation, as you say, is the goal, the method. Because when you talk about scoring a goal, you have to line it up. You have to have a method. You have to have a mode of play. You have to have a code of conduct. You have to have a method to reach your goal. Yes, and what I think we need to do is to be working on the method of effecting repatriation. Because when you look at even now, when there is this reparation council, the world out there is running like mad dog to talk about reparation. Yes. And when I look at the politicians delving down their heads more greedily, you understand me? And showing to the slave masters too that they can still be bought, and that they are still trying to eat crumbs from the master's table, rather than letting the master know that they have a part of the bread. They have a solid part of the loaf, and not just the crumbs. So they are still running to talk about $7 billion in reparation. Yeah. $7 billion in reparation to Jamaica. Is reparation for Jamaicans, or is reparation for the world of Africans that have been disenfranchised and beaten and robbed and raped out of Africa? And is reparation for just Jamaican people, or is it for Africa and Africans in the diaspora and home abroad? So I want them to put these things into perspective, because $7 billion being paid here, is it to develop the Western world, or just to build up the slave master's backyard, or is it to reconstruct Africa that has been really and truly been affected by taking out their learned people and their masters and the people with guts and bring them here in the Western world? And then you tell me. So we have to be careful what we are talking about. And I don't care whether you're of your class or your standard or your rank that you have. We just have to be civil and right and be civil-minded, and not you know, to have our conscience seared out with hot iron and just, you know, just to eat up a mile of the white man's stink without saying it is stink, you know?
I like that. Yes, my Lord. Well, on that interesting note, I think we would seal it up here, my Lord. Give thanks again for your presence, taking time out of your busy schedule. Next time around, we'll talk a bit about the farming.
You know? Yes, my Lord. We'll talk about the farming next time, you know? We just want the world to know that, you know, the teaching of King Emmanuel is real, it's founded, and regardless of what happening, no individual or person can topple it or deny it or thwart it to what they want it to be, because it's constitutional. He has left that a constitution, and right, what we call clear-minded people and right-thinking people will know that a constitution in any organization must be observed and will be taken into account in any forum, as long as it was the tenet upon which that organization is built and is hinged. You know, so the Bobo Shanti, you know, moving on from lowland is still moving to highland, because, you know, Marcus Garvey say it has to be done, you know, and we can look around for him. And as the father said, whether by earthquake, lightning, or thunder, or by man's hand, we know that repatriation is a must, and reparation must come when we are repatriated and in the land of Africa. Because we don't want the politicians to be tricked. And we don't want them to trick some of the people to think that when they pay us some kind of reparation money, they are going to take us home or give us transportation to go home. Mm-hmm. So we need to know what we are, you know, we are doing.
Yeah. True, my Lord. We'll give thanks. As they say in Jamaica, walk safe, because you know tomorrow is Tuesday, then the Wednesday. I don't know if you follow all of that, but that's the way I learn it. Man, have to be careful on this last week, or anything can jump in.
Yes, my Lord.
Okay.
It's coming to the close of the Lenten.
Yeah. I have my own experience too, so I believe it. Let's put it that way.
And we see the evil people them come, you know, travel around the region, and we know wherever they go, they carry, you know, a string of terror and, you know, blood spilling, because whether you know it or not, you know, precise acts, when they move around, you know, they have their agenda. It's not just the statical that people see. People must understand that these people are evil. They are Illuminati. Yes, they have their Illuminati agenda. They have their spiritual agenda. You see, people are fools to think that these people are just moving, you know, temporarily, and they are not moving with their spiritual evilness. But there's spiritual wickedness behind them wherever they go. Mm-hmm. And we know that when they move around, there is much evil that trails behind.
And come and beating of rusty drum after drinking the skull of blood.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So and then they go, and that's why we are leaking out again. We're hitting out against those renegades who allowed, you know, these evil and scrupulous people to go and touch the harp. And as I said, that's why the Bobo Shanti sometimes become selective, you know, and segregational, because those kind of nastiness and those kind of treachery, we could never you know, support and condone, because you could not allow those enemies to go and interfere with your weapon. Our harps are so important and integral to our tradition, you know, because that's the weapon that says death to black and white down pressers. So how could you let the down pressers come to what? Aim your weapon at you? What did they stand out? What did she say in herself when she was touching those drums? Was she sending out that evil curse, a witchcraft spell? What was she doing? What were they thinking when they allowed her to touch the drum? She didn't even have a cover on her head. I can't imagine such desecration.
To my Lord. Give thanks for that clarity. Yeah, man. Well, on that fiery note, my Lord, we will seal it. We will do it again. The Resurrection, my Lord. The double Sabbath.
Yes, my Lord.
And clearing and renting and tearing.
Blessed Lord,
Emmanuel.
Selassie, Rastafari, King Emmanuel,
Adonia,
Rastafari, my Lord.
My Lord. I will accompany you out. All right, that's it. Oh, well, give thanks, you know, for the Honorable Priest Lamont. And such a wonderful expression, what a wonderful moment that we had there. And as I said, you know, the Honorable Priest, well, as he said, really, you know, well skilled and versed within the educational system So as Exodus 31 say, man, all workman on board. Listen, family, give thanks for your presence. Those of you who may be listening to this on Radio Anu, or it will be broadcasted on Radio Anu first and foremost, give thanks for your presence with us here in the Tiger's Nest. Make sure you stay tuned to Radio Anu. There is nowhere else to go but Radio Anu. And for those who will be watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, well, yeah, you should go to Radio Anu now. All you have to do is to go into the link below, the description of the video, and you just press the link and it will carry you straight to Radio Anu. Yes, so give thanks, for the resurrection moment. Give thanks to the Honorable Priest Lamont for spending such a very spiritual and blessed moment with us. And let me just say love and harmony to the full house, all those who have tuned in. Give thanks for the love from my heart. From my heart. Whether I know you or not, trust me, give thanks for the love. Holy Emmanuel, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, blessed Lord.